Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're going to be looking at something that is pretty universal,
Yeah.
sleep.
Mm-hmm.
More specifically, the impacts sleep, or I guess I should say the lack of sleep,
Right.
has on society as a whole.
Yep.
Now, to help us with this deep dive, we're going to be using Dr. Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep.
Great book.
Yeah, I've been reading it.
It's a really interesting one.
Really fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
So we all know that sleep is good for us personally.
Sure.
But what about, like, the impacts of sleep deprivation in the workplace or at school
Mm-hmm.
or even, like, in the healthcare system?
Right.
And this is where things start to get a little
Mm-hmm.
frightening,
Yeah.
honestly.
Pretty eye-opening. And it's something that a lot of people don't really think about.
You're right.
They just focus on their own personal sleep or lack thereof.
Right.
But the societal impact is huge.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to dive into today.
It is.
And it's something that Dr. Walker is really passionate about.
Absolutely.
He calls societal sleep deprivation an epidemic,
Uh-huh.
a global epidemic.
And the World Health Organization agrees with him.
Oh, wow. So
It's that serious.
it is a really big deal.
It is.
Because I knew it was important, but
Yeah.
not epidemic level.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize how widespread the problem is.
Okay, so
How widespread are we talking?
almost a third of adults in America
Wow.
are sleeping 6 hours or less a night.
A third.
A third. Okay, and how does that compare to, like, historically?
Well, about a century ago, it was only 2%.
Wow, that's a
So it's a pretty dramatic increase.
big jump.
Yeah, and it's not just the U.S., it's a trend across developed nations.
Okay, so a lot of us are
Mm-hmm.
not getting enough sleep.
We're running on fumes.
Yeah, we're running on fumes, but
Yeah.
is it really affecting things that much?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, is it impacting our economy?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So,
This is one of the
and what should we talking?
This is one of the most fascinating parts of Dr. Walker's book, I think.
Okay.
He actually shows that most developed countries
Okay.
lose over 2% of their GDP each year due to sleep loss.
2% of GDP?
Yeah, think about that for a second.
That's a lot of money.
It's a massive number.
Wow.
And to put it in perspective,
Mm.
that's almost as much as they invest in education.
So we're basically
Yeah.
losing as much money as we're putting into education
Pretty much.
because of sleep deprivation?
Because people aren't sleeping enough.
It's kind of mind-blowing when
Yeah.
you think about it like that.
Yeah, it really is.
So are we actually hurting our productivity by, working late and
Yeah,
burning the midnight oil?
that's a myth that Dr. Walker debunks pretty convincingly.
Really?
Yeah, the whole sleep when I'm dead mentality,
Yeah.
it actually backfires.
So we're not more productive, we're less productive.
The opposite is true.
Oh, okay.
Sleep loss sabotages our best work.
Okay, so how does it do that?
Well, for one thing, it hampers our creativity,
Okay.
our ability to solve problems,
Mhm.
even our motivation and effort.
We're not just
Yeah.
tired, we're actually worse at our jobs.
You're not just tired and grumpy, you're actually
Yeah.
worse at your job.
That makes sense, but it's
Yeah.
kind of depressing.
It is a bit disheartening when you think about it.
And there's even a study that puts a dollar amount on this lost productivity.
Okay, how much we talking?
Almost $2,000 per employee per year.
Per employee.
Per employee. Yeah, just imagine what companies could do if they
Yeah.
really prioritized employee sleep and well-being.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it really adds up. Okay, so we're losing money.
Uh-huh.
Our brains are basically turning to mush.
Yeah, pretty much.
But are there any other consequences to this, like, sleep deprivation epidemic?
Oh, there are many.
What about, like, the ethical side of things?
Right. Well, Dr. Walker goes into some pretty disturbing territory
Okay.
when he discusses how sleep deprivation impacts leadership.
Okay.
So imagine a sleep-deprived supervisor,
Okay, yeah.
less self-control, more likely to lash out or be abusive.
Right, yeah.
Not exactly a recipe for a positive and productive work environment.
It's kind of scary when you think about,
It is.
like, people in those positions of power
Yeah, it's a bit unsettling.
and not getting enough sleep.
And it makes you think about
Yeah.
some bad bosses you've had.
Yeah, actually,
Who might have been sleep-deprived.
I am thinking about a few right now.
Yeah.
But what about
True, it's a common problem.
the people who work for
Mm-hmm.
those sleep-deprived leaders?
Right.
Are they affected too?
Yes, believe it or not,
Really?
this disengagement can actually spread like a virus.
What?
Even if team members themselves are well rested,
Okay.
they can still be negatively impacted by a sleep-deprived leader.
So it's like secondhand sleep deprivation.
It's like sleep deprivation is contagious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So it's not just about
Mhm.
individual performance.
No.
It's about the
It's about the whole work culture,
work culture.
the whole dynamic of the team.
Wow, okay.
And it makes you wonder, what if companies actually invested in sleep supportive policies?
That's a great point.
Like Dr. Walker highlights some great examples, like Google and Nike,
Okay.
who've really embraced this idea.
Okay, so what are they doing?
They've got flexible work schedules.
Hmm.
They've got nap pods.
Nap pods.
In the office.
In the office. Wow.
Yeah, even a nap culture inspired by NASA.
Wait, NASA has a nap culture.
They do.
Okay, I have to hear more about this.
Well, NASA's been studying the power of naps for astronauts for decades.
Okay.
They found that even short naps,
Okay.
as little as 26 minutes,
Okay.
can boost alertness and performance significantly.
Wow.
And now some companies are taking a cue from them,
Okay.
realizing that well-rested employees are actually a smart investment.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Like we take breaks to eat.
Right.
We get coffee.
To fuel our bodies.
To fuel our bodies. Why not?
Right.
Take a nap to recharge our minds.
Exactly. It's like we've stigmatized sleep.
Yeah.
Like it's a sign of weakness.
Like, oh, you need a nap.
Right.
You're lazy.
Yeah, like you're not working hard enough.
Yeah.
But it's a basic human need, just
Right.
like food and water.
Yeah, we don't.
And the more we understand the science,
Yeah.
the more we can challenge those old school attitudes.
Totally.
It's time to wake up to the importance of sleep.
Literally.
Literally.
And figurative.
And figuratively.
But speaking of waking up,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dr. Walker also talks about something pretty dark.
Yeah.
The use of sleep deprivation as torture.
It's like a really disturbing reality.
Yeah.
And it's something...
How is that even a thing?
Unfortunately, it's more common than you might think.
Okay, but...
And Dr. Walker argues that it's not only inhumane,
Yeah.
but also completely counterproductive.
In what sense?
If you're trying to get accurate information from someone,
Yeah.
sleep deprivation is the absolute worst thing you can do.
Okay, that's
Think about it.
interesting. Yeah.
We've already talked about how sleep deprivation impairs memory,
Right.
makes us more emotional volatile,
Yeah.
but it also increases the likelihood of wrying.
Oh, wow.
So you're basically guaranteeing unreliable information.
Yeah, I guess if you're desperate enough for sleep,
Right.
you'll say anything.
Exactly. You say anything just to make it stop.
Wow.
So it's a completely ineffective interrogation technique.
But what about the long-term consequences
Right.
of this kind of torture?
Well, sadly, the physical and mental scars can be really deep.
So it's not just...
We're talking increased risk of heart disease,
Wow.
weakened immune systems, even infertility.
Wow, so it affects, like,
Yeah.
everything.
It affects the whole body.
Yeah.
And Dr. Walker goes as far as comparing prolonged sleep deprivation to starvation
Wow.
in terms of its impact on mortality.
That's
It's that serious.
really serious. It's
Yeah.
awful.
It is, and it makes you wonder how this can still be happening in the 21st century.
Yeah, you would think.
You'd think we'd be more enlightened by now.
Yeah, that we would have moved past this
You'd think so.
as a system.
Recently, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And it's a sobering reminder that sleep is not just a biological need, it's a fundamental human, right?
Wow.
And Dr. Walker drives this point home with a powerful story
Okay.
about former Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin,
Okay.
who was subjected to sleep deprivation torture
Oh, wow.
by the KGB.
Okay.
And he wrote about how prisoners would literally sign anything
Oh, wow.
just for the promise of a good night's sleep.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a pretty harrowing account.
heartbreaking. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it really puts things in perspective.
It does.
It's easy to take sleep for granted.
Yeah.
It's truly essential
Yeah.
for our well-being on every level.
And it's not just individuals who suffer.
Right.
It's...
Entire societies pay a price when sleep is neglected.
Okay, so let's talk about...
And that brings us to the impact of sleep on our education system.
Okay.
Dr. Walker makes a pretty compelling case that early school start times are actually hurting our kids.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Yeah.
My friend's always complaining about how early
Yeah, it's a common complaint.
her teenager has to get up for school.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the science behind that?
Well, it comes down to teenagers' circadian rhythms,
Okay.
which are basically their internal clocks.
Right.
And during adolescence, their clocks naturally shift later,
Okay.
making them more alert in the evening
Okay.
and needing to sleep in later in the morning.
So it's like asking an adult to
Yeah.
wake up at like 3 a.m. and go to work.
It's not a perfect analogy,
Yeah.
but you get the idea.
Right. So if we're waking up teenagers...
Yeah, at like 6 a.m. to get to school on time.
Yeah.
It's like waking an adult up at 3:15.
Wow. So they're not
They're simply not wired for it.
biologically ready
Yeah.
to be awake at that time.
Right.
So are there like real consequences
Oh,
to
absolutely.
this?
There are.
Besides just being grumpy?
Oh, yeah. It goes way beyond just being grumpy and falling asleep in class.
Okay.
Dr. Walker cites a study of Japanese school children
Okay.
that found a direct link
Okay.
between sleep duration and academic performance.
Okay. So
The more sleep they got, the better their grades were.
more sleep equals better grades.
Pretty simple equation.
It is. It makes me wonder, like,
Yeah.
Why are we still doing this?
It is a complex issue.
Okay.
But Dr. Walker argues that we need to prioritize the well-being of our children,
Yeah.
acknowledge the science.
Yeah.
He points to a great example in Edina, Minnesota,
Okay.
where they shifted high school start times to 8:30 a.m.
Okay. And what happened?
The results were incredible.
Okay.
The average SAP scores
Okay.
for their top students
Okay.
shot up dramatically.
Really? Just from changing?
Yeah, just from changing the start time.
The school schedule?
Yeah.
Were there other changes too?
Oh, absolutely. They saw increased attendance.
Okay.
Fewer behavioral problems.
Okay.
Even a decrease in risky behaviors like substance use.
Okay.
And car accidents.
Wow. Okay.
Actually, in Wyoming, they saw a 70% reduction
That much?
in car accidents among teenagers
Wow.
after moving to later start times.
That's incredible.
It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And it's not just about academics either.
Okay.
You know, there are all these other benefits.
Yeah, you can't ignore those statistics.
You can't.
That's a huge difference.
It really makes you think about the unintended consequences
Yeah.
of something as seemingly simple as school start times.
Yeah, you would think this would be like
Yeah.
an easy fix.
You'd think it would be a no-brainer,
Yeah.
but it often comes down to logistics and resistance to change.
Right. Yeah.
But ultimately,
Okay.
Dr. Walker argues, we're not just shortchanging our kids' education,
Right.
we're putting their mental and physical health at risk.
By depriving them of
By
sleep.
depriving them of sleep.
Yeah, and that's something
Yeah.
we should all be concerned about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just teenagers
Yeah.
who suffer from sleep deprivation.
Right.
It's a problem that affects people of all ages,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a ripple effect throughout society.
Okay.
And that brings us to healthcare.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big one.
It's a big one.
I mean, everyone wants to know that their doctor is
Exactly.
alert,
Well rested.
and ready to go.
Right. But sadly, sleep deprivation is a pervasive problem in the medical field.
Okay, so why is it so bad in healthcare?
Well, Dr. Walker takes us back in time
Okay.
to a figure named Dr. William Halsted,
Okay.
who basically invented the surgical residency program
Okay.
at Johns Hopkins Hospital
Mhm.
back in the late 1800s.
Okay.
And believe it or not,
Okay.
this guy believed that sleep
What?
was a dispensable luxury.
A doctor
A doctor.
believed that sleep was a dispensable luxury.
Yep.
Wow.
And he instilled this sleep-deprived culture
Okay.
in the medical profession
Oh, wow.
that persists to this day.
So the problems
Yeah.
of sleep-deprived doctors has roots going back over a century.
Over a century.
Wow, that's insane.
It's a crazy thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And get this, it turns out Halsted himself was a cocaine addict,
What?
which probably explains
that-
how he managed to function on so little sleep
Oh, okay, so he was just like
and push that same insane expectation on everyone else.
wired all the time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow, that's a mess.
Yeah, it's not a good look.
No, it's not.
But unfortunately, that's the legacy we're dealing with.
So we're dealing with the legacy of a sleep-deprived, cocaine-fueled surgeon from over 100 years ago.
It's pretty wild when you think about it.
It is what?
And the legacy is pretty bleak.
Yeah, what are we looking at now?
Well, Dr. Walker cites research
Okay.
showing that residents working those brutal 30-hour shifts
Oh, yeah.
make 36% more serious medical errors
Wow.
and are a whopping 460% more likely
That's a huge number.
to make diagnostic errors in the ICU.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying.
Have your attempts being made to fix this?
There have been some attempts
Okay.
to reform resident work hours,
Okay.
but Dr. Walker argues that they haven't gone far enough.
Really?
The revised guidelines
Okay.
still allow for those grueling shifts
So we're still
without adequate rest,
putting patients at risk.
which means patients are still at risk.
This is insane.
Yeah, it's a bit mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's like we're playing Russian roulette with people's lives.
It's a sobering thought.
It is.
And it really highlights how deeply ingrained this mentality is
Yeah.
of sacrificing sleep for the sake of training. But Dr. Walker argues that we don't have to choose between training and patient safety.
Okay.
He points to European medical training models
Okay.
that actually prioritize resident sleep
Okay.
and still manage to produce highly skilled doctors.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, it's proof that there's another way.
So there are solutions.
There are.
It's just about implementing them.
Exactly. It requires a shift in mindset,
Mm-hmm.
a willingness to challenge those deeply ingrained beliefs about sleep and productivity
Yeah.
that we've been clinging to for far too long.
Okay.
And that's not always easy,
No, but it's necessary.
but it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, because the stakes are so high
The stakes are incredibly high.
when it comes to healthcare.
Exactly. We're talking about people's lives.
Yeah, it makes me think about
Mm-hmm.
all those all-nighters I pulled in college,
Yeah.
thinking I was being super productive.
Oh, we've all been there.
But now, knowing what I know,
Yeah.
It makes me cringe.
It's like a badge of honor to push through fatigue.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we're not doing ourselves any favor.
No. And I think that's
No.
something that a lot of us have
I
experienced.
think we've all been there at some point.
And it's like, we've been lied to about sleep.
Yeah, it's like we've been brainwashed.
Whole
I
lies.
believe that sleep is for the weak.
Yeah, it's a weakness.
But it's actually our superpower.
It is.
It's what allows us to function at our best.
And that's what we have to relearn.
Exactly.
It's time to reclaim sleep as the essential human need it is.
Absolutely.
And build a culture that values rest
As much as achievement?
as much as achievement.
Yeah, it's time for a paradigm shift.
Yeah,
It starts with each of us.
yeah, it's a big task.
It is a big task.
We got to start somewhere.
But we got to start somewhere, one good night's sleep at a time.
That's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've
Yeah.
covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little sleepy.
Yeah, all this talk about sleep is making me want to take a nap.
Huh.
But we've got more to discuss.
Yeah, we do.
So why don't we take a quick break
Okay.
and come back to finish our deep dive.
Sounds good in a few
We'll
minutes.
be right back.
After a short break.
After a short break.
Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. Okay, so before the break, we were talking about all these, like, medical errors
Yeah.
happening because of sleep deprivation.
It's pretty scary stuff.
It is scary. Like, I don't want to go to the hospital
Right.
and be operated on by a doctor who hasn't slept.
Nobody wants that.
And what really struck me
Mm-hmm.
was that comparison that Dr. Walker made
Uh-huh.
between a sleep-deprived doctor
Yep.
and someone who's driving drunk.
Right. It's a powerful analogy.
Yeah, it makes you think, like, would you get in a car exactly with a drunk driver?
Probably not.
No. But would you let a sleep-deprived doctor operate on you?
And yet we don't think twice about
Yeah, it's a...
letting sleep-deprived doctors treat us.
We don't think about it the same way.
It is.
It's a double standard, for
No,
sure.
it is. So, like, why
It's a cultural thing.
are we so obsessed with pushing through fatigue?
We have this belief
Why is sleep a weakness?
that busyness equals productivity.
Right.
That being's active.
And sleep is for the lazy.
means you're working hard.
Yeah.
But the science just doesn't support that.
So how do we change that? Like, how do we fix this?
Well, I think awareness is key.
Okay.
Like, books like Dr. Walker's
Yeah.
really help to start these conversations
Right.
and challenge the status quo.
Okay, but it can't just be about
Right. It can't just be about individual
the
responsibility.
individual.
We need
individual.
larger scale solutions.
Like what? What kind of solutions are we talking about?
Well, policy changes
Okay.
would be a good start,
Okay, in what areas?
especially in things like education
Right.
and healthcare.
Okay.
We've already talked about the benefits of later school start times.
Mm-hmm.
And in healthcare,
Yeah.
we need stricter limits on resident work hours.
Okay, yeah.
Like Dr. Walker points to those European medical training models
Right.
as examples.
You know it's possible
It shows that it is possible
to prioritize sleep
to prioritize resident sleep
and still have really great doctors.
without sacrificing the quality of training.
Yeah, so it's not,
It's not an either-or
right,
situation.
an impossible thing.
We can have both.
Okay, so it's really just about getting people on board
It's about changing mindsets.
with these solutions.
challenging those old beliefs
Mhm.
about sleep and productivity.
And on that note of challenging beliefs,
Yeah.
Dr. Walker also talks about something that I found really interesting,
Okay.
the rise in ADHD,
Right.
diagnoses in children.
Mm-hmm.
Could that be linked to sleep deprivation?
That's a question that Dr. Walker explores in the book.
Okay.
And it's a pretty concerning one.
So how are they connected?
Well, he highlights how the symptoms of sleep deprivation,
Okay,
things like difficulty focusing,
Mhm.
behavioral problems,
okay.
mood swings,
Yeah.
can actually mimic the symptoms of ADHD.
So we're basically misdiagnosing kids.
It's a possibility
They're just tired.
that some kids who are being diagnosed with ADHD
Right.
might actually just be sleep deprived.
And being treated with medication.
Right, and he points out that many children who are diagnosed with ADHD and
Mhm.
treated with stimulant medications
Right.
might actually be suffering from undiagnosed sleep disorders.
Okay, so that's a huge problem.
It is a big problem.
If we're treating kids for the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
So what kind of sleep disorders are we talking about?
Well, he discusses a condition called pediatric sleep disordered breathing,
Okay,
or child obstructive sleep apnea,
okay,
which is often characterized by heavy snoring.
okay,
And it occurs when enlarged tonsils or adenoids
okay.
block a child's airway during sleep.
So they're not getting enough oxygen.
Right, and that leads to disrupted breathing and chronic sleep deprivation.
So what can parents do if they think their kid might have a sleep disorder?
Well, the first step is to talk to their pediatrician.
Okay,
There are simple questionnaires
okay,
that can help assess a child's sleep patterns
okay.
and flag any potential problem.
All right, and then what?
If a sleep disorder is suspected,
Yeah.
then a referral to a sleep specialist
Okay.
would be the next step.
Okay, so there are resources.
Yeah.
There are,
It's just about being aware of them.
but it's also a lot of responsibility on parents
Right. Parents need to be
to
informed
be informed and advocate for their
and
kids.
advocate for their children's health.
Yeah,
And that's where education comes in.
totally.
The more parents understand about sleep, the better equipped they'll be
To make good decisions.
to make informed decisions
for their kids.
for their kids.
Yeah, and it's so interesting how this all connects back to our societal values.
Right.
Like, we are so obsessed with achievement,
We're so focused on productivity.
and we've completely neglected this basic human needs for rest,
Yeah, we've lost sight of the importance of sleep.
and we're all suffering because of it.
Exactly. It's time for a cultural shift.
Okay, so how do we make that shift happen?
Well, we need to reframe sleep
Yep.
as something essential for maximizing our potential,
Okay,
not as something that holds us back.
right.
It's an investment,
Not a weakness.
not a luxury.
Yeah.
Imagine how much healthier and more vibrant our society would be
Oh, I would love to live in that world.
if we all just prioritized sleep.
All right, well, I think this has been a really great conversation.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
And I don't know about you,
I'm feeling very inspired.
but I'm definitely going to be prioritizing sleep a lot more
Me too,
from
definitely.
now on.
I think we all could.
Yeah.
So why don't we take a quick break?
Okay.
And then we'll wrap things up
Sounds good.
and leave everyone with some final thoughts.
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back
And again.
and ready to wrap up our deep dive into sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, this has been really eye-opening for me.
Yeah. It's amazing how much we take sleep for granted.
I know, right? Like, we push ourselves so hard,
We do.
thinking we're being productive.
And we end up sacrificing our health and well-being in the process.
Yeah, and it's not just about us as individuals.
Right. It affects everyone around us.
It affects society as a whole.
It really does.
So what's the big takeaway here? Like, what do we do about this sleep crisis?
Well, I think Dr. Walker sums it up pretty well when he says
Okay.
that sleep is the single most effective thing we can do to reset our brain and body health each day.
So it's not just about feeling rested.
It's about so much more than that. It's
Yeah.
about optimizing our cognitive function,
Mm-hmm.
our physical health,
Yeah.
our overall well-being.
It's like a magic pill
It really is.
that we're all ignoring.
And it's free.
I know,
You
right?
don't have to pay for a good night's sleep.
So why aren't we all doing it?
It's a good question.
I guess it comes back to those societal values we were talking about.
Yeah, we've got our priorities all mixed up.
We think we need to be go, go, go all the time.
Yeah, the hustle culture.
But maybe the key to success is actually slowing down
Maybe we need to rest.
and getting enough sleep.
Be our best.
Yeah, like maybe rest is the new hustle.
I like that.
Rest is the new hustle.
We need to start a movement.
I'm in.
Spread the word.
Okay, well, I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into sleep.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you learned something new.
And that you'll make sleep a priority in your life.
Sleep well, everyone.